Okay. Good morning, y'all. And a very lovely, gray, drizzly, wintry Sunday to you. We're in a different locale this morning because one of our household has been unwell this week and has taken over the living room. So we're in here. And, you know, it's been a lot this week. This week has been doing the most. It really has. So, I mean, and not even, like, I say that and then I think about it and I'm like, you know what, though? Maybe not completely, but also absolutely. Just a lot going on. Just completely threw my commitment to schedule and personal accountability out the window, which, I mean, you know, those who can't do teach, right? So they say. But anyways, I didn't come into this with a plan today because, I mean, holiday week, huge news week, and sometimes your brain just needs to reset. And I was sitting here and I was trying to think about what I had talked about last week, but before we get into that, my fellowship community really enjoying this human being and what they're putting out into the world, and my just really appreciating my ability to witness this person and their journey through life is, I don't know if you guys have seen it because I'm not on the Talk of the Tick, and so I don't know. I'm sure he is on there. I don't know why he wouldn't be. But Chris Kind of Reads, that is his YouTube link as well as his X link. I think he also has, like I said, I think he's got the Tick of the Talk. Check it out. Really, really unbelievably excited for this young man. I am a huge fan of reading classic literature and its ability to help you perceive yourself and the world around you in a new and enlightening way. Especially the old classics. Like, I am a huge fan. Started with my dad. My dad, at one point when I was growing up, decided that he wanted to read through as many of the classics as he could, so he started accumulating them. He's got a beautiful collection in his library at home, and I started reading those, and some of my, actually, basically all of my favorite books are classics, and yeah, so highly recommend. I think he just finished reading some of Steinbeck. Personally, I appreciate Steinbeck for what he brought to literature. I think he is unequivocally a incredible author. He's just not my flavor. I mean, every book just completely and totally depressing, which makes complete sense considering that a lot of his work came out during a time when there were enormous generational and personal obstacles that Steinbeck encountered and that we were encountering culturally and globally at the time. So completely understand how it all ended up being doom and gloom. I get it, but just not something that I want to spend a lot of my time reading because life is depressing as it is, okay? And there's lots of other classics and fun things that you can read. My personal favorite is the original Count of Monte Cristo, not the abridged version, the big old brick, okay? Love that book. Favorite book of all time. Everybody should read that book. Chef's kiss. But all classics. They're all fantastic. And so Chris Kind of Reads. He is my pick of the week for fun, fabulous, and lovely people that are doing what they can to ground themselves in personal what do we want to call it? They are developing personal identity through through expansion of perspective via novels, right? And my God, speaking of this, I'm going to go on a little tangent here, right? I'm sure some of you have seen that little graph going around of like, oh, look, visually on this graph, women read so much more than men. And babies, that graph is not saying what you think it's saying. And I say that as someone who reads basically the entirety of me having a e-reader is so that I can read my lady smut in peace, okay? But it's getting out of hand, all right? I read a lot more than just that, and more of y'all need to go out and start reading these classics, okay? Expand your mind, expand your vocabulary, because language is the number one differentiator between success and lack of success, all right? Language is important. But anyways, go out, greet your neighbors, spend some time with some loved ones, disconnect, get away from the digital screen scrolling, okay? Think about how much screen time you have and what you could be doing with it, okay? You could be reading The Three Musketeers instead of being on your phone all that time. You could be learning how to knit. You could be making a garment for yourself. You could be carving a canoe. You could be learning how to create a modern pocket-sized hacking device via the utilization of Raspberry Pi and other such brilliant little technological gadgets that you're able to purchase on the internet, okay? There's a lot of things that you could be doing with your time that's not scrolling on your phone, okay? Because most of it is just mind wipe capture for marketing purposes, all right? So, yeah. But, all right. We talked about Chris Conover. Oh! And I restarted a viewing of Green Acres, which, if you hadn't seen it, you should. It's fabulous, absolutely hysterical, and Eva Gabor as Lisa is just goals. Find it, watch it. It's better than anything that you're going to find on Netflix, I can guarantee it, okay? And you're supposed to be canceling Netflix anyways, darling. What are we doing? It's been how many weeks? Get rid of it. You know you don't need it. Save your coins, baby. Save your coins. Put it into that IRA I talked about. Put it into that mutual fund I talked about. And read a book, okay? It's gonna behoove you in the long run, all right? So, what are we going to talk about today in our little Sunday sermon that connects back to our cardinal virtues and how reestablishing our internal compass of aligning with these in service of our own selfish best interest in an attempt to build a better community that we can survive in, thrive in, and thus thrust our genealogy as far into the future as we possibly can with the best possible opportunity for success, right? And I figured, what better way to spark some philosophizing than to touch base with some of my favorite quotes from Meditations by Mr. Marcus Aurelius. Okay, another fabulous book. You should get it. You should read it. You should get your pen out, get your pencil out, start making notes in it. It's brilliant. It's a marvelous way to ground oneself in the now and taking action in the moment versus postponing it and procrastinating. Okay? Procrastination. Words is hard, okay? Procrastination queen over here. From me to you, practice it. Everything is a habit, and if you don't want to be procrastinating, you have to practice not procrastinating. And I am the queen, so take my advice. Or don't, right? It's up to you. It's your life. You can live it the way you want. But, hey, Anyways, Marcus Aurelius, book number 4, page 39, and this is quote number 8. All right. It can ruin your life only if it ruins your character. Otherwise, it cannot harm you, inside or out. Let's have another one of those, okay? It can ruin your life only if it ruins your character. Otherwise, it cannot harm you, inside or out. It's just, there's a reason why some things end up becoming timeless. And I think somehow we've gotten a little too big for our boots, right? We love to think that we are so much better and so much more than what has come before us. And of course, in some ways, yes, we are, right? But we are, at the base of it, an animal. We are a mammal. We have a little bit of that little lizard brain still stuck in there. And everything that we do is in service of that very basest and essential of needs and goals, right? And a lot of times I think we start to think that we somehow know better, or that our experiences are drastically different than those of our ancestors. And sometimes it's nice to come across something like this that is so poignant and so relevant even now, thousands of years later, and be confronted with the reality that everything changes but nothing changes, and that he really is right when it comes down to it. And it's why I think reading literature, right? I'm talking about like reading like important things, not things that are important because of the universality of it, right? And the window that they provide onto human experience and human motivation. And especially classics, because like I said before, it expands your ability to understand, to express yourself, and to hone that muscle, right? That incredible gray matter that lives between the ears, okay? And when you do that, you are building a library of skills and knowledge that cannot be taken away from you, right? When you fuel and exercise and cultivate what you think, what you feel, how your brain works, those are things that cannot be taken from you, no matter what life throws at you. And that is a strength that anyone can have and anyone can cultivate. It's why you have different cultures that talk about things like meditation and reaching a place of zen and all of that. It's what that really breaks down to is your ability to be mentally flexible regardless of what is presented in your path, right? And that is our greatest strength as an organism, right? And I think that's one of the interesting psyops that has and probably will always go around, right? Is there are always a group of people that are trying to convince you that, oh, if you find out certain things, or oh, if we take progression too quickly, then it'll break people's brains and this, that, and the other. And the reality is that like that's all bullshit, It's all bullshit. We are the most mentally flexible and adaptable organisms on the planet. And it's part of what allows us to maintain our peak predator status, right? And we can, I mean, think about your grandparents and the change that they've witnessed. And my great grandparents, okay, my great grandfather was 98 when he passed. And in his lifetime, he witnessed us go from horse-drawn carriages and outhouses and kerosene lamps to going to the moon and the first cell phones. And not just the first cell phones, but he passed away when iPhones were ubiquitous. And so I think that we are one of our greatest strengths as a collective species is our ability to adapt and overcome, right? So we just have to lean into that a little more. We have to, I think, root ourselves in those base guiding principles that Plato and Aurelius and Aristotle talk about, where all of these things, the reason that we can recognize their existence as philosophical ideals or these, these, it's not, the word will get to me eventually. But the reason that we can identify these, despite their not being physical things, they're just philosophies and theories, is because we can see them demonstrated in daily life, right? And again, it's because everything is a wave. So thank you, quantum mechanics. Okay, I think that I was misspeaking in some of my past videos and saying that it's quantum physics, not quantum mechanics, and that's on me, okay? I'm not a physicist. I'm not a quantum mechanical engineer, so look, I'm going to make mistakes with those kinds of things, but it's quantum mechanics, not quantum physics. Physics actually has a really big problem with quantum mechanics because it does a much better job of resolving a lot of the what do we want to call it? It resolves a lot of the sticky wickets that exist in physics that, they're trying to explain. But quantum mechanics, man, gotta love it. But quantum mechanics is, and how it relates to logos, or this universal guiding principle of how to, act in a way that aligns oneself with the primary principle of, this is why I need my book. I need this book because they talk about this, right? Anyways, but you get what I'm saying. Like, maybe you don't get what I'm saying. Who knows? Who cares? Okay? Because frankly, it's both the most meaningful and the least the most meaningful and the most meaningless. And that's life, right? Because once you're dead, you're dead. And if you're fortunate enough to be like Marcus Aurelius and to be put into, to spawn into a timeline where you're able to become someone that is remembered thousands of years after your death, right? Then that's luck of the draw. But you have to, for your own well-being and for the selfishness of giving yourself a future that is the best possible version that it can be, it behooves one to act and make choices in a specific way, right? So, yeah. Anyways, we're at about 20 minutes here. I think that's good enough. Go out, be thankful for where you find yourself. I know that I am, and that's part of why I started reading meditations and really trying to, it's why I started journaling, it's why I try and do it consistently still, is because I did suffer from depression and anxiety, and I don't know anybody who doesn't, right? But that's just a reality, and that's part of why I kind of take issue with this term of neurodivergent, right? Because how are you defining what is normal, neurotypical, right? How could we possibly define that effectively, considering that nobody's brain is exactly the same, and nobody's brain is going to work exactly like someone else's, and how could you possibly map that or document those differences or similarities in an effective way to begin with, right? So neurotypical to me is just another way for people to segregate themselves in an attempt to offer excuses for why they are the way that they are, rather than take personal accountability for the fact that they made the choices that they make. And I mean, because if that's the way that your brain works, it's not neurodivergent, it's just your version of neurotypical, okay? And for me, I started reading all of this and I started doing all of this because I think one of the major causes of what is it called when you have a it's kind of like people have it when they like dysmorphia. It's one of the leading causes of at least I think it is one of the leading causes of why we have this dysphoric view in how we kind of have these two counter things existing in both our recognized reality and what's sold to us, right? Like a lot of times there's marketing that tells you that, like we know, okay, let me collect my thoughts here. So we know, living in the United States, being a citizen of the United States, and all of the rights, privileges, and benefits thereto are a really powerful commodity. And that if you spawn as an American citizen, you have privileges and opportunities that other people will never have, regardless of where you spawn in the American hierarchy of economic and social strata, right? So there's this dysphoria between and kind of dissonance. There's a cognitive dissonance between the reality that we all know we live in, right? And this feeding of guilt that is, this feeling of guilt that is fed to us to try and convince us that we should feel guilty about that, that, you know, somehow we're unworthy of that, and you're not. Like, you shouldn't feel guilty about it. You shouldn't feel obligated to other people because you happen to be from a lineage of ancestors that worked as hard as they did to put you in a position where you have these advantages, right? But I do think that you have to be able to see those, recognize your own privilege, and be thankful for it, right? Be thankful for it, and then not waste it, right? I think the biggest portion of personal dissonance that causes a lot of anxiety, that causes a lot of depression, that causes a lot of these, medicated issues, neurotypical divergences, or no, not neurotypical, neurodivergent, right? All of these neurodivergent, whatever you have, come from trying to, or not knowing how to reconcile the fact that you have an enormous amount of inherent privilege and being told that you should feel guilty for it, right? And not having a demonstrable way of dealing with that, and then also feeling like you're contributing in a positive way and doing something that feels meaningful, right? And for me, it came with, I decided that I wanted to figure out a way to live with these dichotomies and live with these contradictions that, in a way that didn't require me to be on a pill all the time. Because first of all, y'all know it's sketchy when they're advertising for medicines, okay? We all know that this is sketchy. We all know that this is sus. Stop it, okay? Stop it. Especially when they're selling you a depression drug that may cause suicide. And can I say that on here? I guess I can't, but I mean, how messed up is that, by the way? Why can we not use the words in their proper form? All right, it's such a gross and insidious form of thought policing and thought control and societal control to change language and to say that you can't use certain words because they're harmful. Like, it's the truth. It's an accurate description of the action and the noun, right? But anyways, so I think that we know that all of this is a scam. We know that you know that everything that is sold to you is exactly that. It's sold to you. Medications are sold to you. You're made sick by these medications so they can sell you more. Food is sold to you. It's sold to you so that they can, make more money. And certain types of food are sold to you because they make you unwell. And that then, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, right, Big Ag? Right, Pharma? But, hey. And I think that because we can see that, and because we can see that important parts of what give us personal identity have been eroded and replaced with Labubus and Stanley Cups, you feel cognitive dissonance, and people are constantly telling you that, like, you're the bad guy, and that, whatever, but we all know what's going on. But anyways, read Marcus Aurelius, read classic literature, get off of the digital algorithm, disconnect from it, go talk to your neighbors, and write in a journal, reconnect with who you are as an individual, form a really solid foundation of personal identity that exists outside of what other people tell you you ought to be or why you ought to be it, right? So, anyways, and it can ruin your life only if it ruins your character. Otherwise, it cannot harm you, inside or out. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully this was not too winding of a road, but if it was, hey, whatever. It's my video. I can do what I want. Have a good one, y'all.